Hey, what's up? This is Nick Walter from madeupbypeople.com, and this is a tutorial teaching you about UIWebViews. And if you've never heard of those before, it's a way to put a stinking browser right inside of your app. Apple has shared their Safari browser code with us as app developers, and it's really easy to put a browser into your app. So if you notice how like Twitter, Facebook, some other apps like that kind of have their own web browser, right? Like you click on a link in Twitter and it will kind of bring up this little pop-up thing, and now you're in this web browser, but you haven't left the Twitter app yet, right? That's what I'm going to teach you how to do, how you can have a web browser inside your app, not moving over to Safari, but actually having a web browser in the app. And we're even going to add stuff like a forwards and a back button. Now, there's all other sorts of things that you can do with UIWebViews, but I'm going to at least get you the basics here up and running. So like anything else, let's go ahead and open up Xcode here so we can start a new project. Man, I just got out of the shower. I'm in this like really great state right now where I'm just kind of fresh, got like a good vibe going. I'm pumped for this tutorial. So we're just going to create a new Xcode project here. And we just want single view applications just so we kind of have a blank canvas to put things on. And you can call yours whatever you want. I'm just going to call this Web Fun, something like that. Make sure you got Swift selected. We can do universal, not really a big deal. We don't need any of these things checked. So we'll go ahead and hit next here. Let's just put it on our desktop. It's asking us where we want to save this app. And always, as just a good measure, I hit run just to make sure things are working. Oh, it's trying to run it on my iPhone. Let me actually choose a device to simulate it on. Let's do the iPhone 6S. So I just want to see this run and get that blank screen to know that at least everything's okay and we don't have any errors or anything when we've started. So while that's loading, let's go ahead and move over here to the storyboard. So mine's kind of zoomed in right now. I'm going to zoom out here so I can see a little bit more of this. I have the trackpad, so I kind of pinched and zoom. You can right click if you want to change that zoom. Anyways, oh, look, it popped up. Our simulator looks great. Yes, it's blank. We're ready to go. Okay, so here's our very first view controller. And we're not going to move beyond this for this tutorial because I just want you to first type in Webview into here, and there should be only one thing that pops up, this glorious little UIWebView. So let's click and drag that onto the project. Looks like I got to be zoomed in more. I just double click to get there. Now I click and drag. So we have a little WebView. So what I'm going to do is, remember, we want to add like a back button and a forward button like other browsers have. So I'm going to have the WebView take up the full screen size, except for maybe a little bit of a space on the bottom. So double click to zoom in again, select this WebView, and we'll hit the little TIE fighter dude down here. This gives you kind of the constraints. We'll uncheck this and say, I want you to go all the way to the top, so there's zero spacing between the WebView and the top. 0 to the left, 0 to the right. So now it's filling all the way to the top, the left, the right. That looks good. Then we just want to leave some space at the bottom. So maybe let's say, give us 100 at the bottom. So we add those constraints, click on this little triangle, update frames, and look at that. We got our space at the bottom. It's filling up everything else. That's good. So let's run this again. Just make sure that everything's working and stuff, that we don't have anything that we got to freak out about. And here it is, and it works. And you're like, well, there's nothing in there. Well, we got to give it some sort of like website or something to go to. So I'm going to teach you how you can programmatically get this WebView to go to a certain website. So let's go back to the storyboard here, and we need to connect this WebView with the view controller code here. So, and if any of this is confusing to you, you're like, I don't know anything about a view controller and stuff, please go check out my classes on Udemy. You can either go to madeupbypeople.com to find my classes, or just go to Udemy and search for Nick Walter. All my stuff will pop up there. Yeah, because if you're brand new, you're probably like, what the heck is this? But assuming you've got an intro into iOS stuff, let's go. That's right, we got to connect the two. So back to the main.storyboard, and we want to do a split screen here. Look at that, the view controller pops up. We've got this on a really big font. Let's kind of tone that down for a second here. There we go. Okay, and I'm just going to hold down the control key and then click and drag over here into my app. So I'll let go there. We just want it to be an outlet, and I'm just going to call it WebView straight up, okay? So now inside of the actual code, we have reference to this web view that's inside of the storyboard. So we can go to this and go back to kind of full screen here and do our work here. So this function, view did load, gets called right when the view controller appears for the first time. So this is where we want to say, hey, go to this website. So for now, let's just have it go to like google.com or something like that. So we're going to say self.WebView. There's a little web view that we had. Perfect. Dot. And then we want load request. And you can see, well, there's a couple of different things we can put in here, but this load request, it's asking for an NS URL request. So just keep that in mind. We have to make an NS URL request. So we'll come up here, we'll say NS, assuming this beach ball goes away. I don't know if you can see the beach ball because of the recording software, but Xcode's stuck on something. There we go, NS URL request. Okay, we'll do our parenthesis here. And we're saying it just says you need one with the NS URL. So we're going to have to make an NS URL up here. Yeah, the hole just gets deeper and deeper. So we want to scroll down until we find the one that's just with a string, right? So this is where we're going to put in the actual URL that we want to go to. So for example, www.google.com. Google's the best, isn't it? It's just kind of the default. I always have it as my homepage. If Google's showing up, I know my internet connection's working, right? So we're just going to say let URL be equal to this thing. So now we can pass this URL into this NS URL request. So we'll put in URL there. Then we have to put this into a constant. So we'll say maybe just request is equal to this NS URL request. And then we can take this request and pop it into here. Request. Excellent. So we do have a little bit of an error here. Oh, this is this NS URL is an optional, so we need to say, hey, this thing exists for sure. But with just these 3 lines of code, our browser, our UIWebView, will actually go to a page now. So we're gonna hit the run button here. Build succeeded. Wait for this guy to show up. And drum roll. What do we got here? It's not doing anything. I'm worried. So I figured out what the error was. I forgot that in iOS 9, you have to use HTTPS by default. Any kind of URL you're visiting, whether it's a web view or an NS URL request, you've got to use HTTPS unless you explicitly say, allow everything or allow just these websites. So if you want to know how to do that, go just Google iOS 9 HTTPS. You're going to get tons of results and tutorials on how to allow those things. For us, let's just modify our URL here to say https://www.google.com. And that should get rid of this little error here that's saying, hey, we think this is insecure. So let's hit run here and wait for app to open. Drum roll. Dun, 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 it's Google. This is working. I mean, this is a fully functional browser. Like, let's go to images here. Let's just look for pictures of cheese. Okay. We look for cheese. It's like, oh yeah. Ooh, like this is a fully functional browser. We can scroll through stuff. We can like click on things. Like it's pretty awesome. And you can make this do whatever you want. So you can go like the Twitter route. Like if someone clicks on a link in your app, you can kind of pop up this browser so that the user's like still within your app, but can visit these websites, right? I guess if you wanted to keep them there, you wouldn't want to just pass them to Safari. Like kind of keep them there and give them a little bit of a browser or something. But you'll notice with this, we don't have the forward and back buttons, right? So if I wanted to go back to the previous page, I have no way to hit like a back button or something. So let's go ahead and add that to our app. So I'm going to come here back to the storyboard and button. Here we go. I just want to add a button. So I'm going to select button. Then let's come down here where we have some space. And I'm just going to drag out one button here. And this one's we're just going to call next. And this one we're going to call back. Okay. So now we need to add actions for both of these. So once someone taps on them, we can actually do something with it. So let's do our split view again. First, we'll work with the back button. I'm going to get rid of this did receive memory warning. No one ever uses that. And it looks like Xcode doesn't want me to delete it in the split view, so that's okay. I'll just do control drag here. I want this to be in action. Okay, and let's just call this back tapped. One more P, I believe. Okay, and then we want to come to this next button, do another control drag, and say next tapped. Okay, and we'll connect that. So let's go to our view controller here. Let's do it full screen. Ooh, we've got some nasty stuff. So I accidentally put this function inside of the view did load. So let's go ahead and put that below. And this thing was accidentally an outlet. So I'm going to delete this. And this is a good thing to know if you've ever run into this. If you ever make a connection from a storyboard into your code and you delete it in the code, you also have to go back here, for example, this next button, go to this little circle with the arrow with it. You've got to delete this connection that it thinks it has to the code. So I'm going to go ahead and X that. And now go back to the split screen. And I'm going to try this control drag one more time. Change it to an action this time. And I'll say next tapped. Cool. So we connect that. Let's go back to full screen. To this view controller again, it put it inside of the stinking view did load. I don't know why that split view's acting weird, but that's okay. So for back tap, we're going to do something very simple. We're just going to say self.webview.go back. That's it. That's how easy Apple has made it for us to go backwards and forwards inside of an app. Using the UIWebView, like. They've made it so easy for us. Now, obviously, we'd want to make like some pretty buttons or something, but what do you think it is for the next one? So self.webview, okay, .go, and I believe this one, I got to do capital here. Webview.go forward. Excellent. And delete that. If you hear sirens in the background, that's because I'm living in the ghetto. Well, not really, but there's a fire truck or something outside. So to go to the next one, which WebView considers go forward, all you do is .go forward. This is so simple. So I can't wait to show you this. Hit the run button and let's test out our code here. Again, Apple, shout out for making this so easy for us developers. Like, we don't have to do anything to make this work. Like, it's pretty amazing. So here's our browser here. Our next and back button aren't exactly in the best location, but again, just for the example, let's do like let's type cheese. Here's some cheese. If we hit the back button, it goes here. If I hit the next button, it shows up. Now, one thing that we don't exactly like about this is that if we hit the next button, you shouldn't be able to hit the next button if there's no page to go next to. And the same for if we hit the back button and there's nowhere to go back, like we shouldn't be able to do that. So we're just going to make a function that checks whether we can go forward or backwards and updates those buttons accordingly. Okay, so I'm just going to make a function here. So func check buttons. Okay, we'll do our little curly brackets here. And inside of here, we're first going to check about if the browser can go backwards. So we're going to say if self.webview.can go back. See, that gives us a Boolean, either true or false. So if it can go back, then we want, and we've got to now bring the buttons over here as outlets. So let's go back to the storyboard, select our back button, do a control drag, say back button, and we'll take our next button, do a control drag, and say next button. Cool. Can't wait to see where Xcode threw these this time. So bizarre. Oh, in the spot where I would have wanted them, so that's good. So if self.webview can go back, so if it can go backwards, we want self.backButton.enabled to be equal to true. And if not, we'll do an else here. Else, we want this to be equal to false. Okay, so you see what's going on here? We're saying if the web view can go backwards, we want to enable the back button so that the user can actually click on it. And if it's not, if the web view can't go back, we're going to set enable to false, which means now the button's disabled and they can't tap on it. So let's just go ahead and copy this exact same code. We'll use it for the go forward, and we just got to change this to can go forward. And we'll just change this to next button, and this as well to next button. Okay, so we have those. I'm going to go back to the storyboard and just, I'm going to bring these buttons down really close here so that hopefully they're not inside the web view. Again, all sorts of other layout stuff that you should probably be doing for your app, but I just want to see this thing work and show you the basics of UIWebView, because this is not a tutorial about layouts and stuff. Okay, so we wait for the browser, and I just realized we made this function, but we never called it anywhere. So as you can see, the back button says that we could go back, and I can tap on it when in reality we can't. So back to the view controller here. We made this function, but we never called it anywhere. So let's call it inside of the view did load, and let's do it after it's gone to a page and everything. So we'll say just check buttons like that. And then every time the user hits a website to go forwards or backwards, let's check that as well. Okay, so we're going to hit run. Actually, I just realized these should be going afterwards. So I'm going to put down here as well. Okay, back in business. Here we go. Let's run the app. So drum roll, app opens for the very first time. We can see neither the back nor the next is highlighted because we can't do either of those things. And now let's go somewhere. Again, let's search for cheese. And although the UIWebView has gone somewhere new, you're like, well, how come this thing hasn't updated here? Well, the reason is, oh, hello toolbar. Let me make space for you now. The reason that is they're not being called is because, well, we never hit the back button, we never hit the next button, and so the browser's like, there was no chance for this check button to be called. So that's when we have to use the delegate of this web view. So we're going to set one more thing in here. We're going to say self.webview.delegate is equal to self. And of course, Xcode's going to bark at us because it says this view controller is not a WebView delegate. Well, let's change that. UIWebView. Come on, Xcode, you got to work with me. I don't know how to spell this exactly. UIWebView delegate, I think is what it's called. Let's do Command B and see if this loads. No, Xcode is not oh, look at that. I tried to do another colon. I have to do a comma here. So UIWebView delegate. Cool. And now that we got that, let's hit Command B. Make sure everything's happy here. Good, good, good. Let's look for some of these delegate functions. So we'll just start typing WebView did start load, WebView did finish load, did fail, did start loading request. I mean, there's all sorts of these different things about the WebView, and like if I type even more, just WebView, you can see these are all the different things you can do. So what we want is WebView did finish load, because that means it actually went to another page. So we're just going to say whenever it finishes loading somewhere, we want to call that check buttons. Okay, so let's hit run one more time. Fingers crossed on this stuff. We want this code to get run anytime that a WebView finishes loading something. So we'll open up the simulator here. I'm going to search for cheese. When I do that, look what shows up, the back button. Yeah! Like, this is great. Okay, so now I can hit back. Now the next button appears, so I can hit next, go back to the cheese. You see how this is working? Like, let's see, let's go inside the cheese. Let's try and go to this website. Actually, it might not let us visit because this might not be HTTPS. So again, something you got to search to fix that if you want the user to be able to browse anything. But we can utilize this back button and get back to where we wanted to, or go forwards inside of the cheese hole as we dive deeper and deeper. So anyways, that's a very quick run through on UIWebView. Like I said, Apple has made it so easy for us to work on that. You can kind of see the beginnings of, if you put a little text bar up here with the URL of stuff, like any times it went to a new page, you could use this WebView did finish load to check, okay, what page did it go to, put that up at the top, and then if the user types something new up there, you could have them go somewhere else, stuff like that. Like, you can do some really neat stuff with this UIWebView, or you could just make it as simple as showing a page. So completely up to you. Thanks a ton for watching my tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube. I love making tutorials, but I also want to know that people want these. So if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe. And also, if you'd like any of my courses, which teach you anything about beginning iOS programming, Swift, intermediate iOS programming, Apple Watch programming, gaming, there's so many different things. Check out madeupbypeople.com. Thanks, and have a good one.